Hello everyone, this is week 6 and our lecture 2, and in the previous lecture we have already started with the swings. We started with the basics of the graphical user interface programming, what are the basics, and then we started with event driven programming, what are events, what is firing of an event, and all these basics, how to make a very initial program, very basic program of the swing, and how to add the components onto the frame, what are the classes we require. In the last class we colored up to coloring of the frame. So in the last class we learned how to make a frame, how to set the properties of the frame, how to add the components. Now for adding the components we just learned two components. One was the button and another was the label. Now I will start my lecture, today's lecture, first of all by adding another more important components, which are the text field and the text area. Then I will proceed to the layout managers, and then the last topic we are going to discuss will be the panels. For each of the topic that I am going to discuss today, I will be doing the sample programs with you. Alright, so let's start now. In the last class we learned how to add the two components, which are button and the label on the frame. Now we have two more important components, which are text field and the text area. So I am going to the end part of the slides. Now what is a text field, what is a text area, what is the difference between them? So a text field is an object of the class JTextField. Obviously text field is a component which can take the input from the user. Text field and text area, both are the components which can take input from the user. Now what is the difference? We will learn in a short while. So like button is an object which belongs to the class JButton. Label is an object which belongs to the class JLabel. Text field is an object which belongs to the class JTextField. So we can just like previously we have declared the object of the JTextField, we can do it same. But the only difference over here is in label we are entering a string, in button also we are entering a string in the parenthesis. Now here we have to add, we have to specify a numeric value which specifies the number of characters. That means how many characters my text field can take. So a number of characters that will be visible will be specified. Alright, going ahead to the next slide. For example, over here, now let me just make a text field over here. I am going to do with the same sample program I am going to use that I used in my previous lecture. So let me just remove the label and the button, all these things, because I don't need them. I will just add a text field today. I don't need label and a button because I'm not adding the label and the button. So import javax.swing.j text field. Now T is capital, F is capital, F-I-E-L-D. So I have to add this class. Same way I have to make an object of the JTextField, JTextField. F1 is equals to new JText. Now just like with the public and private variables, you can make your components as public, private and default. Alright, now here I need to specify number of characters. So let me just specify 4 characters over here. That means my text field can take only 4 characters. Now what I need to add, I need to add it to the frame. So add F1. Let's check our frame now. Let's check the output. So if you see over here, a text is blinking. That means I have a text box because it's a white area. That's why it's not, the boundaries are not visible now. Alright, so for example, if I try to add my name, R-U-C-H-I. Alright, so the number of visible characters, you can start adding any, but when you are running your program, only visible characters will be 4. Another way to specify the JText field is you can add the default text. Sometimes you might have you have seen in the shopping websites that in the text boxes some default text appears. So you can give the default text over here. So something like this you can give over here. First variable will be string. Enter your name here. So first variable will be string and then followed by number of characters. So the purpose here is to notify the user what you must enter in this text field. Alright. So if you see over here, my text field is here and by default it is showing the text. Now I can enter my name over here, whatever the text I want to enter. So these are the two versions. Now there are two methods which are used with text field. One is the getText method and another one is the setText method. GetText method is used to read the text in the text field. Now whenever we are reading, we need to store it in the variable. SetText is used to set the text on the text field. So for example, if I set it over here, enter your name here, okay, and then I add over here f1 dot set text. This is a text field. So now instead of showing enter your name here, let's check what does it shows. So it shows this is a text field because I changed the value that should appear in the text field. So setText is a method used to assign and getText is a method used to read the value. Now if you enter any numeric value or the floating point value in the text field, that will be treated as a character and not as a numeric value. So for example, if you want to make a program to add two numbers, so for taking the two numbers from the user, you will take it in the text box, but those numbers will be treated as characters and not numbers. We have to use the %int method to convert it to the numbers. That also we will discuss later on when we discuss the other part of the programming. Alright, so this was about the text field. We have so the two methods which we use with the text field are getText and setText. GetText is to read the text in the text field and setText is to set the value or display a new text in the text field. We are not going to do this program right now. Alright, now the last component which we are going to discuss today is text area. Text area is similar to the text field, but in the text field you can enter a small text, but in text area you can enter a large text. Text area is usually defined for the fields like where you want to input the user address or you want to send an email. So it takes two parameters, two numeric parameters. One is first one and the second one. So the first one, two parameters it takes to specify the minimum number of lines and minimum number of characters per line. How many number of lines and how many number of characters per line. So this means that there are 5 lines and number of characters in each line will be 20. And same thing you can define over here, having some default text and followed by the two numeric characters. So the default text will display as default as in the text field area. How to define the text area? So it's defined in the text area class, and let me just make it text area. Same methods are used. jTextArea, jTextArea is okay. Let me make the object JA is equals to new jTextArea 5,10 maybe. Then I will add JA. I will remove this line. Okay, let's check it. So if you see, here is the text area defined, number of lines you can specify, and number of characters, number of visible characters, although it may take many, but number of visible characters. Alright, similarly you can define the default text over there just like in the text field. So this was about two important components, which was text field and text area, which we will be using very frequently in our programs. Now moving to another important part, which is the layout manager, or containers and the layout manager. Until now you have seen that if we are able to add only one component. If we try to add another component, the previous component which we have added disappears. So does that mean that we cannot add multiple components? No, this doesn't mean that we cannot add multiple components. We can add multiple components to the JFrame by using the add method. However, the add method does not specify how these components are to be arranged, because in the add method it does not specify where to put the label, where to put the button, where to put the text area, where to put the text field, and so on. So now how to describe that how my various components should be arranged? We have to use a layout manager. Layout manager is something like your planning manager. For example, when you have a wall and you want to hang the paintings on the wall, so you will plan a layout that my first painting should come here. For example, let's assume that. All right. So let's assume that for example I have a wall and I want to hang the paintings on this wall, right? So how to add the paintings? I want to add 3 paintings like diagonally, or I want to add 2 paintings over here and 1 painting at the down. So I have to plan the layout. Similarly, when we want to add multiple components to the JFrame, we need to specify the layout. So the layout manager has to be used when we want to use the multiple components. There are a number of layout manager classes, but we are going to discuss only 3, which are border layout, flow layout, and grid layout. So these are actually, they specify the arrangement plan of your frame. How are you going to arrange the various components on the frame? So the layout manager are used. So we are going to discuss the 3 types of the layout manager. First one is the border layout, second is the flow layout, and the third one is the grid layout. Now if a layout manager is not specified, a default layout manager is used. So let's start with understanding these layout manager. First of all, we will talk about border layout manager. Now border layout manager, it places the components that are added to the J-frame in the 5 regions. So the 5 regions that it uses of the frame are north, south, east, west and center. So for example, if this is a frame, it will use these sides: north, south, east, west and center. So you can use all these 5 areas to place your components. Border layout manager is added by using the set layout method. So very important, set layout method is always used for specifying the specifying the border layout or any layout. So how do we do? Set layout and in the bracket do a new border layout, because it's a method, so we use the 2 braces also. Alright, so for example, if you see over here, I have this border layout regions: north, south, east, west and center, and here is the program. They have added the 3 labels in the north, south and center. Let's try to do this program. I'll try to do this program. These are actually the buttons. I will try to make these as buttons. Alright, so now layout managers are defined in the Java AWT package. As we learned in the previous lecture, that all the classes of Java, they are defined in all the objects, they are defined in a Swing or AWT. Layout is all defined in the layouts are defined in the Java AWT package. Alright, so let's start with this. Okay, so I will start with border layout. Okay, layout demos. Alright, first of all, import javax.swing.jframe. Then I want to have buttons in my program. Import javax, import javax.swing.jbutton, and the last one is layout. So import java.awt.border layout. I am using the border layout. So let's define the class, public class layout, and it must extend JFrame, extends JFrame. Alright, as usual, I will set the properties. I will set the properties of the frame first of all. Okay, so I will create a constructor, public JFrame. Okay, next I use the super set title border layout demo. Then set size. Either you can define the 2 static constant variables over here, and then you can define, or you can define like this also. Set size I explained in the previous lecture, 300 by 400, any size you can define. Next was set default close operation and CLOSE JFrame dot, I will use exit on close, exit on close. So my properties are set. Now what I need to do, I need to define the layout by using the set layout method, set layout, and new border layout. Please check the capital and the small letters. In the border layout, B and L are capital. Now I will start adding the buttons. What I can do, I can define the buttons over here. J button, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. Instead of defining over here, I can declare the variables of my button class over here. So B1 is equals to new J button. Alright, let me just name it as north. I will just copy this: north, south, east, west and center. So my button is B2 and it's south. It's B3. I am just giving the names of the buttons. East, west, and center. So these are the buttons that I have defined. Now I want to add these buttons in their respective areas. I want to add these buttons in their respective areas. Alright, instead of specifying as north, south, east, okay, let's check it. Instead of specifying them as north, south, east, else you will be confused, I guess. Let me just define it as button 1, button 1, button 2, button 2, because when I specify the directions you will be confused. So button 3, I will name it as different. Button 4 and here button 5. As we know, in the border layout we have 5 directions where we can arrange, right? So we will start adding now. Add. What I want to add? Button 1, in which direction? Border layout dot north. I want to add my button 1 in the north direction. Now I will do the same thing with the other buttons also. With the other buttons also. So this is how you have to add. Add method followed by the name of the object and in which direction of the border layout. So let me add the button 2 in the south. North, south, these are capital. You have to, this is the syntax. So please, you have to make sure what is capital, what is small. This is little bit sometimes tricky also. So let me add it to the east. I will add it to the west and then I will add it to the center. Last button is added to center. So I am done with this. You can add labels also, you can add text fields also, whatever you want. Now I will, public layout. Here, west. Alright, done. Now I will create the main class because I don't want to add any action listeners to it. So what will I do? I will just add the main class. If you want, you can add action listeners to them. Okay, so what will I do? I will create a new Java file. Alright, so I will give it a name, demo layout. Demo layout. So what I need to do here, just set the visible property to true, public class demo layout. Public static void main string args. I will create an object of the layout class, layout L1 is equals to new layout, and then I will set the visible property L1 dot set visible to true. Let's check our program. I think they are not in the same directory, I guess. Yes, they are not in the same directory, so I made it in the same directory. Alright, let's try to run it. So if you see here, I have 5 buttons. Button 1 I added to the north, button 2 I added to the south, button 3 I added to the east, button 4 I added to the west, and button 5 I added to the center. So this is how you can add an action performed, like clicking on this button should display something or change the color. Later on we will do it. So this is how the border layout works. We will move on to the next layout. I have not done the same program. You can look at it. They have just created the label, just like I created the buttons, and they added the label in the north, south and center. Alright, now moving ahead to the okay, so the previous diagram shows the arrangement of the 5 border layout region. None of the lines in the diagram are normally visible. So when using a border layout manager, the location of the component being added is given by add, name of the component, border layout dot direction in which you want to add that component. So this is how you can specify. Next layout manager is the flow layout manager. Flow layout is the simplest layout manager. So it arranges the component one after the another. So for example, how does the flow layout arranges the component? Suppose I have this frame, I want to arrange first painting here, first will be arranged over here, second will be arranged here, third will be arranged here. Now there is no more space, so fourth will be arranged here. If the fifth is large one, fifth will be arranged here. Now sixth, since there is no space, sixth will be arranged here. So this is how the components are arranged in the flow layout. It arranges the component one after the another going from left to right. So it works from left to right. Components are arranged in the order in which you add it to the frame. So the order in which you add it to the frame, they are added. Since the location is not specified, add method has only one argument, add, and in the bracket you just specify the name of the object that you want to add. So before moving to the grid layout, I will just do a simple program of the flow layout. I have an exercise also for you. So I'm going to solve, for example, I have this this first question. So it has 3 labels and 3 text fields. So I'm going to do this program. So 3 labels and 3 text fields. The only difference is in the size. It has the height is more as compared to the length, and it has the width is more over here. So let's just do this program. I will do the changes in the same program. So instead of border layout, what I will do, I will have a flow layout over here. Now instead of buttons, what do I need to have? I need to have label and text fields. So I will add J label. How many labels I have? L1, L2, L3. You can give any names. And then I need not to have J button. I need to have J label over here, and I need to have J text field. J text field. Import javax.swing.j text field. So I will create 3 text fields also. L should be capital here. J text field. JF1, JF2, JF3. So I will use the same things. So almost the height and the width is the same here. So what will I do? I will make it 400 by 400. Alright, now I have to define over here label 1. L1 is equals to new J label, and what is their first name? First name. Label 2 is middle name. Label 3 is last name. So label 2 is MI. And label 3 is last name. And then I need to define the size for the text fields also. If you see, text field 1, text field 3, they have almost the similar size. Text field 2 has the smaller size. So JF1 is equals to new J text field. Let me just make it 8 characters. Alright, so JF2 maybe 2 here, and JF3 same size. Now I have to add the components. So the arrangement will matter the way in which I add. So I have to check. First of all, I have label 1, then text field 1. If I add label 1, label 2, then instead of text field 1, it will show me label 2. I will show you how it will show me. So I will add, first of all, add L1, add JF1. So this is how the arrangement is. Add L1, add L2, add JF2, add L3. I will show you what happens if I misarrange these components. Add JF3. So all my components have been added. Let me just compile it. I forgot to set the layout. It should be flow layout here. Alright, now let's just check the demo. Because I specified the size to be very big, that's why. If you see over here, I didn't change the title also. So if you see first name, then text box. So the first 8 visible characters, the number of characters, 8 will be visible over here. If you see, it's taking the characters, but only 2 or 3 characters, visible characters. Same thing is with the last name. So the order matters. Now for example, here if instead of text field 1, I add over here label 2. So what is the output I get? So here you have to be sure, you have to check what is the layout and how the components are arranged. If you see over here now, I have the 2 labels together, so it does not match to my this output, right? It does not match to my this output. So the way you add the components will appear on the screen. So this is very important for the flow layout. Let me just go back and change it. Alright, I will put it here back to its position. So if I width and height, if I do it 100, I can change the height anytime. I can change these. This is flow layout demo. I actually did not change the title. I can specify in the super also. Refer to my previous lecture. So if you see, this is similar to this figure. So width is more, height is less. So the way you add the components, it appears on the screen. So that was the second type of layout, which was the flow layout. Now let's move ahead to the next type of layout. This is the grid layout. Grid layout arranges the components in 2-dimensional grid with some number of rows and columns. So how it happens? Let's check. Now for example, you have a wall and you have the paintings also, but you want to arrange in a grid in rows and columns. So how are you going to arrange? First painting, second painting, third painting. Then you will select the painting which is of similar size, 4th painting, 5th painting, 6th painting, 7, 8, 9. So you have to specify number of rows and number of columns. Each entry is the same size. Each painting should be of the same size. 2 numbers given as argument, they specify rows and column, and each component is stretched so that it completely fills the grid position. So for example, there are 2 rows and 3 columns. So when you specify the layout, set layout, new grid layout, and in the parenthesis you have to specify rows and columns. So it will be like 2 rows and 3 columns. When using the grid layout class, the method add has only one argument, just like the flow layout, because here also the items are added from left to right. The top row is filled first and the second row, then so on. So the first row, first column, first row, second column, first. So how it will be filled? First component will be placed here, second component will be placed here, third will be placed here. Then next component, then next component, then next component. So first row is filled first, then second row, and so on. Grid positions may not be skipped. The use of main method in the GUI class itself, this one I will explain you later. The use of main method, you can use it in the same class also. We will do the programs. Alright, so let's check what is this program. Okay, no, I'm not going to do this. You can refer to this program, but we will do the program which we have in our over here. For example, over here, so I have the second program, grid layout. I have 3 labels and 3 text fields just like that, but now the size of the text field is more. So I have first row, second row, third row. I have 3 rows and 2 columns in this. So let's check how to make this program. Now I will do the grid layout. So instead of flow layout, my change will be here. Grid layout. All the layout classes are defined in java.awt, grid layout. So same thing, this is grid layout demo. If I check, the only difference is in the size. Let's make it 200 by 100, 200 and 200. Alright, so I will specify here grid layout and 3 rows, 2 columns. Alright, so I will specify with the same sizes. So the components have to be added in the same way. First of all, label 1, text field 1, then label 2, text field 2, label 3, text field 3. Rest all remains the same. Yes, rest all remains the same. Let's just run it. So if you see, 3 rows and 2 columns. So first row is filled first, second row and then third row. Alright, let's check. So it's like this. Alright, you can specify the, you can increase or decrease the size also. For example, if I specify over here 400 by 200, width is 400. Anytime you can increase or decrease the size of the frame also. You can try with the different heights and widths. How does your output looks like? So it looks better now. You can always try with these. So let's check. This is just a description like this, so my output will be like this. Alright, so this was all about layout managers. Now what they have done over here, since they don't have, they have 2 rows and 3 columns, they do not have any last label over here, that's why it is empty over here. Alright, so this was all about the layouts, how to use the layouts to have the multiple components. So when you want to have the multiple components, you need to plan a layout, how the components should be arranged, else the components will be arranged on one over the another. Alright, so summary of the layout managers, let's just have a quick recap of them. These layout managers, they are defined in java.awt package. Flow layout, it displays the component from left to right in the order which they are added. Border layout displays the components in the 5 areas, north, south, east, west and center. Grid layout, it layouts the components in a grid with each component stretched to fill its box in the grid. Now we come to very important concept in graphical user interface programming, which is the concept of the panels. Graphical user interface is often organized in hierarchical fashion with containers called as panels. Just like JFrame. JFrame is what? It's a container. Container is something which can hold a thing. So JFrame is a container which can hold your various components. Similarly, we have the panels. I discussed about these things in my introductory lecture. Kindly refer to that introductory lecture. JFrame is a top level container. Panel comes below its hierarchy. So you always add a panel onto the frame. You can never add JFrame to a panel. So panel is added to a frame. JFrame is a top level container and panel is next level in the hierarchy. So it's a container. That means panel can hold your components. So it has with containers called panels inside other containers. Now what is a panel? Panel is an object of JPanel class that serves as a simple container. What is the purpose of the panel now? We want to have a more better arrangement of the components, or we want to place the more components. So what you can have, for example, let's consider a very simple example. You have a big wall. You have a big wall. Now on this big wall you want to specify the paintings. So for example, you have a painting 1. Now on the painting 1 you can make a collage. So on the collage you are going to specify what type of layout my collage should have. Then where my collage should be added. I will come to the next for the layouts for the panels and the for the frame. So panel is something which is placed on the frame, some container. It is used to grip smaller objects into the larger component. One of the main functions of the JPanel object is to divide the frame or the container. So the basic purpose of the panel is to divide the frame. Basically we want to divide the frame, and we want on the smaller area we want to place more and more components. That is the purpose of the panel. So both JFrame and each panel in a JFrame can use different layout manager. That's very important point over here. Now for example, I have a JFrame, I have a panel. Now on this panel, I have added two buttons. I have added two buttons, button B1 and button B2. I have another panel over here. Another panel. I have added two labels, label L1, label L2. I have a third panel over here. I have added text fields, text field 1, text field 2. Now first of all, my concern is how should I place these two buttons, these two labels, these two text fields on the panel. So that means for each panel I need to specify some layout. After that, when I have specified the layout, I have added the buttons, I have added the labels on panel 2, I have added the text fields on the panel 3. Now my next task is how to place these panels. That means I need to specify the layout manager for the JFrame as well, whether all these three panels should be placed as border layout, flow layout, or as grid layout. So that means you can separately specify the layout managers for the JFrame and the panel. Always remember, JFrame is a top level container, panel is a next level in the hierarchy. You always attach a panel to the frame. You cannot put a frame on the panel, right? So panel frame is a top level container. Additional panels can be added to each panel. Now on this panel, for example, you have specified this panel. You can add further panel on this. So for example, you have specified two labels over here, and you want to add a panel in the south direction. You can add a panel over here. So to the panels also you can add a panel. So this way we can have many small containers, small objects, and on the smaller area we can have a beautiful layout plan for the user interface. So, and each panel can have its own layout manager. So this enables almost any kind of layout to be used with the GUI. So as described in the previous chapter, a set layout, how we specify with the set layout, the layout method. Now panel belongs to the JPanel class, so we need to create the object of the JPanel class. Then we need to set layout of the flow layout. So this layout will be for the frame, this layout is for the panel. Now if you can remember, in the previous lecture I told you how to set the background color of the frame. we used the method get content pane to color to set a background color to the frame. For the panel, we can use the set background method. We don't need to have get content pane. Set background method will set the color of that object. So for the button, for the object, we can set the color. Alright, now we have a program over here. I will just show you the program and I will do it. So what is this program? Let's first of all understand this. Let's first of all understand this. What is this program? I will do this program, solve this program. Now what do we have? We have three buttons, red, white and blue, which are at the bottom of this frame. Now if you see the red button has a background as red, white has a background as white, blue has a background as blue. Now when I click on the red button, the left part of this frame gets colored as red. When I click on white, the center part of this frame gets colored as white. And when I click on blue, the last part of the frame, the rightmost part, gets colored as blue. And the default color of the frame is set to be gray. So if you see, clicking on white, the center part is covered as white. Clicking on blue, the last part, the rightmost part is covered, is colored as blue. Before I do the program, now we are not going to create the separate action listener class. Rather we can add the action listener class to the same class only. If you can recall over here, I created a separate action listener class in the previous program. What we can do, we can in the same program, we can extend the JFrame and implement the action listener. So in the GUI class, action listener, we can object of the class panel demo, we can implement it. Now when we are implementing it, we have to define the action performed method in the same class only. So we will do this program and I will explain you side by side how we are doing it. Alright, let's start doing this program. So let's start doing this program. We know what to do now. Okay. So let's name it as panel demo. I'll create the main class as a separate class. Now of course I need to have import javax.swing.jframe. Okay, before we proceed for making the program, let's understand what is the logic behind this program. How are we going to make it? Let's check the output. Okay, so let's check it. Now if you see over here, the main task in GUI programs is to check how to set the layout. Now if you can see over here, when I see the buttons, I can guess that these are in the south of the frame. So that means for the frame, I can set as a border layout because these are at the bottom in the south direction. So for the frame, I can set the layout as the border layout. Now if you see, this is the center area. So that means I have some bigger panel over here, which I call it as a main panel. Main panel has been attached on the center. It has been attached on the center. Now if you see, I am only coloring this part. Red is only covered this part. Then white is this part. and blue is this part. That means I have divided this main panel into the smaller panels, panel 1, panel 2, panel 3. So that means I can set it to be a more specifically grid layout, and number of rows is 1, number of columns is 3. So the first panel will be my red panel. When I click on red button, it will color this panel as red. Second panel will be my white panel. When I click on white button, it will color this as white. And last panel will be my blue panel. When I click on blue button, it will color this as red. So this is set as the grid layout. Then the buttons, these are added to the south of the, I can make it as a button panel. Button panel, I can set the layout as the flow layout. Then I can add this button panel on the south direction of the frame. So let's start doing it. The main task before we start with the GUI types of program is to first of all understand the layout, because that's the main important task. So in this case, I need to have panel also. Import javax.swing.jpanel. It's defined in the swing class. Then I need to have border layout, flow layout, and grid layout. Import java.awt.border layout. I will just copy it. I need to have buttons also. So let me just make it grid and flow. I need to have the color also. Import java.awt.color. I need to have button. Import. So you need to import all these classes, javax.swing.jbutton. Then I need to have the action listener also, because I need some action to be generated, some event to be fired when I click on the 3 buttons. So import java.awt.event.action listener and action event. Action event. Alright, now let's start. Public class panel demo extends JFrame, implements action listener. So in addition to the JFrame class, in this class, action listener class has also been specified. So object of the class panel demo is the action listener for the buttons of that object. Alright, so let's start with this. Let me declare the panels, because I want to have the 3 panels as I told you. I can declare them as private, or I can just make them as panel JPanel. Default modifier also. So we are making these instance variables. Why? Because we want to refer them in the constructor and in the method action performed. So if I just declare inside the constructor or somewhere else, I won't be able to declare it, use it inside the method. That's why. So JPanel, I have blue panel, red panel, white panel. So these are the three panels that we have. Okay, so let's make a constructor. Public panel demo. Alright, so super panel demo, then set size, okay, so let's set the size. Then I have set default close operation, jframe dot I will use exit on close. Now first of all, let's specify the layout for our frame. We will use border layout. It's visible from the output that it's a border layout because the buttons are at the bottom. Now let's create a main panel, JPanel, on which I will create further sub panels. JPanel, I call it as main panel. Main panel. Now for this panel I will set the layout as grid layout. So main panel dot set layout new grid layout 1, 3 because 1 row and 3 columns. So that's my main panel. Now I have blue panel, red panel and the white panel. Because they are the three private panels on which the colors will be changed. So let's define them. And then I have the buttons also. Alright, so let's define the white panel first maybe. Okay, let's define the red panel. Red panel is equals to new JPanel I will set its background color. Red panel dot set background color dot light gray, and then I will add this red panel on the main panel. Main panel dot add red panel. Similarly, I will do with the blue panel and the white panel. Blue panel and here I will write blue panel. Then I will add the white panel. So my panels have been added. So I can add my main panel in the center. Add main panel, comma, border layout dot center. So it has been done. Now let's add a panel on which we are going to attach the buttons. Having panels is really preferable because you can arrange your components. You can have as many panels as you want, but it should follow the layout which is given in the question. So button panel, J panel, button panel is equals to new J panel. So I will set the layout of this button panel. Button panel dot set layout, and it should be the flow layout. Flow layout, and I will set the background color also for the button panel. I can copy this line. Now I have to create the 3 buttons which are red, white and blue. So J button, J button red is equals to in the bracket I will specify the color red. Now if you see over here, the background of the button is red. So how to do it? Red dot set background color dot red. Now we need to add this button to the button panel. Before adding the button to the button panel, we need to add the action listener to this because it must perform some actions. So red dot add action listener this. Why this? Why not the name of the class? Because the method is specified in this class. So this keyword, remember the usage of this keyword, it can be used to call the current class method. Instead of specifying the method name, I can use this keyword. So I will add to the button panel dot add red. Same thing I will do with the other buttons. Next is white. So this is white. Name is white. So white. Color here is white. And I will add. Same thing I will do with the blue. Your GUI programs are normally quite longer. So I will add here blue, and again. Alright, so I have added all the components, but I have not yet defined the action performed method. Okay, let's check. Here it should be dot. Blue dot. Because I have not yet defined the method action performed. Okay, color dot blue. Flow layout, I still have errors. Action performed, of course, right? Alright, so here, where is the error? It should be button panel. New flow layout. So these are the smaller syntax errors which you may also encounter many times. There does not seem to be an yeah, super S should be smaller. So now I have only one error. I know it because I have not yet defined the action performed method. I can proceed with it. So after just specifying the layout, you can check for your errors like this. This is the way you can go increment. And now I have to specify the method action perform. Now it should be outside the constructor. So public void action performed, and inside it I have to make an object of the action event. Action event, let me specify it AE. Alright, now what I need to do, I need to check which button is clicked, whether it's white, it's blue, or it's red. So there are many ways of doing it. What I am going to do, so I will store the text on the button in some variable. So for this I will define a variable string button text is equals to e dot get action command. This is a method defined. This is a method get action command is a method defined to check which button is clicked. Now we will check if button text or button text equals method dot equals method is red. Now I have to specify over here the way I wrote over here. I have written all in capitals, so I have to write everything in capitals. Equals over here I will write all in capitals. Now if it is red, then what it should do, even if I don't specify these braces, it's okay. Then what it should do, it should color my red panel dot set background color dot red. course I have other buttons also. Else if the text on the button text dot equals, you have to specify the way you have written. I have written all in capitals, white. Then what it should do, white panel dot set background, B should be capital here, color dot white. Else if button text dot equals blue, then what it should do, blue panel dot set background, color dot blue. Else what it should do, if I do any other thing, because it should have else part also, system dot out dot println error. Give us some message that we have done something wrong. Alright. So where do I have? Okay, here. AE. A should be small here. Done. Now I have to create the main method and set the visible property of the frame to true. I will do it in the another program. I will create the main program. I am not going to do in the same program, although in your book it's given in the same program. So for the purpose of abstraction, we are going to create the main Java file. Main panel demo. So I will just create an object of that class, public static void main string args, and then I will create the object panel demo p1 is equals to new panel demo, and p1 dot set visible to true. Let's check it. Alright, so no errors. Why there is no? Let's check our program. We forgot to add our button panel on the frame, so that's why it's not showing over here. So we have to add button panel, comma, border. These are the errors that you are also going to do it. Alright, so we forgot to add. When something is not visible, check what you have done. If something is not visible, that means you haven't added it to the frame. So if you see, it's appearing. Red, the background is red for the red button. For the white, the background is white. For the blue, the background is blue. So this is the main panel. Now when I click on red, let's check. This panel is turned to red color. So this was the red panel. White panel. Why it's this one? Okay, let's check. We have added somewhere. Okay, let's check it. Okay, so it should be opposite. The problem is here. We added first of all blue panel and then the red panel. So this is what I told you. The way you add, it will appear. So I must add over here first of all the white panel. So it was not a syntax error, it was a logical error now. So when you see something like this, that means there is a wrong in your logic. So you need to check your program. It's doing. So red, white and blue. So this is how this program is done. So let's go back with a few slides related to the more information on panels and other things. Then we will finish off this lecture. Alright. So we have done now. Okay. Going ahead. Before going ahead, I have this program number 4, which displays the. This is just for the layout. So you can try this program over here, and then we have over here the panel program also. This question number 1, green, blue and red. So green is clicked. The background of the whole panel is colored to green. Background of the blue panel is covered to blue, and background of the red panel is covered to red. So you can modify this program like I just explain you. You can try by yourself how you can do it. You can do the same program, but try to do this by yourself. Now what I have done, when I click on right, only 1/3 of the screen is clicked right. Rather 1/3, the whole panel now should be colored as red. Clicking on white, the whole panel should be colored as white. Clicking on blue, whole panel should be colored as blue. And attach these buttons instead of in the south direction, put these at the top, just like in the previous program shown in the exercise. So let's quickly wind up. Let's quickly now understand some more important terms. Container class, any class that is a descendant class of the class container is considered to be a container class, and the container classes are found in the java.awt package, not in the Swing library. Any object that belongs to a class derived from the container class can have components added to it. JFrame and the JPanel, they are the descendants of the class container, so they can have their descendants which can serve as the container. Any descendant class of the J component is called as a component class. Any J component object or component object can be added to the container class. Because it is derived from the J component, it can also be added to the another J component. Alright, so moving ahead. Objects in typical graphical user interface. Almost every graphical user interface is built using Swing container classes. It will be made up of 3 kinds of the objects. First is the container itself, which probably looks like a window. Components which can be added, for example, labels, buttons, panels, and the layout manager, which defines the position of the objects inside the container. So these are the 3 basic things which every GUI program will always have. So here is the hierarchy of the AWT classes. We have the container class. Container is the descendant of the parent class is the component class. Then frame class is derived from the container class. So we have the JFrame. And from the J component, from the container, we have the J component class, which has JPanel, JLabel, menu bar, text component, which is text area, text field, JButton. So this is the hierarchy of the layout classes, border layout, these are defined in the AWT. So this is the hierarchy of the Java GUI classes. The task of designing a Swing GUI can be divided into main subtasks. First of all, we have to design and code the appearance. So first thing is you have to check the appearance. You always have to look for the layout. How does the layout looks? You will not be given in the program itself or the question itself. This is your task to find how to define the layout, and this you can do with the practice. Then designing and coding the action performed. So first of all is designing the layout, then the action performed. If there are buttons, now what are the actions performed by the buttons, we have to do it. So in particular, it is useful to implement action performed as a stub until the GUI looks the way it should be. So that's why we had it in the class. The philosophy is at the heart of the technique used by the model view controller pattern. Alright, so menus, we will do it in the next lecture, and until then, thank you. Your questions are welcome. Thank you so much.